we are the Giants Backlog. We play a game every 2 weeks and talk about it. This week, it's my pick, Ace Combat 7. You may notice we're one giant short today. Gradle stubbed his toe pretty bad this morning, so he's not able to make it this week, but we'll keep him in our thoughts. Hopefully, next 2 weeks he's feeling better, good enough to join the podcast. I'm joined by co-hosts Paul and John.
Heyo.
Yeah, I already mentioned it. We're talking about Ace Combat 7. There'll be a lot of spoilers, so heads up. If you haven't played the game, go play it. If you plan to, we'll still be here. Or if you don't care about spoilers, just listen to us talk about it. All right, we start every episode with an opening topic. This week, I would like to start talking about our previous episodes. So, kind of want to talk to you guys about which episodes were your favorite. Which ones did you not like so much? Maybe this will help some people who are just jumping in on the more recent ones to go back and check out some of our good episodes that we've done. Disclaimer, the audio is pretty bad on those old ones, but if you can stick it out for it, there's some good game discussion. So, Paul, name some of your favorites and why. Did you like the game recording or playing the game for the recording, or did you like our discussion on it? Kind of.
Yeah, so for me, Shadow of the Colossus, I never would have played that game if Alec hadn't picked it. And it's probably one of my favorite games that I've ever played now. The discussion was interesting. It's always fun to talk about games with your friends, but just now that after playing that game, I just see its influences in so many of the other games that I've played. Like, I still think about Shadow of the Colossus a lot. And I never would have played it if Alec hadn't picked it. So it wasn't in my backlog, but it should have been. The Resident Evil 4 episode was also one of my favorites. Game that I picked had been in my backlog for a long time. I know John and Alec weren't fans of that one, but I'm so happy that you played it and you loved it, Jay. And I listen to a lot of like gaming podcasts where they talk about, they're all kind of older than us, older critics, but they're like Resident Evil 4 when it came out in 2005. That was my shit. I was only 10 when that game came out, so I was a little young to play that one, but revisiting it in 2022, I think it aged really well. I know John and Grado disagreed, but it was so fun playing through a game like that with my friends and talking about it.
Okay. John, what were some of your favorites?
I think my favorite was my original pick, Cuphead, because that was the one that was truly always on my backlog. As people know, I mean, if you're jumping in now, I didn't really have a very big backlog since we've started this podcast. It's grown and grown the more I've learned about games. But that Cuphead episode, I really enjoyed it. It was a game that I really liked, and it was funny talking and seeing how frustrated Jay you got during that episode. So I think there's some good stuff in there. So that would be one of my favorites.
Yeah, a couple of my favorites. So I really liked Hellblade just because it's my favorite game ever, and I was able to force you guys to play it, and you all ended up loving it as well. So that was validating for me. And also, I think there's some really funny stuff in getting over it, which you wouldn't think would be a good game to play because there's not really a story. But it, like John said, it's funny when people get frustrated, especially your friends, because we can all point and laugh at them. So, what about some of your least favorites, guys? Which ones didn't you like and why?
I mean, I think, yeah, I'll go. I think that my least favorites, or the ones that I wouldn't recommend, are just ones that have poor audio. Those would be basically the string of 4 or 5 that we did in Alex's living room that had the dogs, their claws across the floor the whole time. Or before I put down the poker chips. So, I mean, those ones, if you're going to listen to those, like, I think the content there is good, but I think you got to take it with a grain of salt that we were still figuring out how to record and make these sound acceptable. So I think those would be the ones that, if you click on that and you are put off by that background noise, just know that we're working on getting better, and we have some episodes that are better in the audio.
Yeah, I'll jump off on that one. My least favorite episode that we did was probably the ukulele episode, which I think was the first one we recorded in Gradle's living room. Audio on that episode isn't good. We didn't realize at the time that the sound of the dog like tapping their paws on the floor was going to be so loud and kind of grating, and it's such a low noise level that it's really hard to remove if it's happening while somebody's talking. So yeah, sorry about that one. I also just really didn't enjoy that game. I think I gave it a 6.5. I was a big Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie fan, so I was really excited at the thought of playing through ukulele, but I was disappointed in it ultimately. The other game that I didn't, the other episode, and it's not so much the discussion, it's more of the game, Wardrobe. That game just really felt like a chore to play, and I was just relieved when I beat it because I beat it for Game Club. I think if I had just picked that one up and played through it by myself, I would have dropped it probably after the first couple stages, but I persevered and I beat it. And like, for what it's worth, if you're a fan of that genre, you'd probably, and I think I said this in that episode, you'd probably really like that game. It's not a game for me.
Cool. Well, hopefully this helps people listening to this episode. If you're interested in some of our old podcasts, go check them out, and just be forewarned, audio's not great, but we're improving.
We're working on it. We know, guys.
Yeah, but feel free to leave a comment saying terrible audio. It's fine. We appreciate all feedback.
Yeah.
So now that we've all played Ace Combat, let's jump into Ace Combat. Let me write down a time code. So, what are your guys' hot takes on Ace Combat 7? Hopefully you've thought about it.
Yes, I can go first.
It's not a surprise. I ask for hot takes every episode.
I have a good one for this one. My hot take is you can carry over 100 missiles on your plane and bombs, but only 5 flares. What's up with that? Bullshit. Killed my immersion.
That's pretty good. Hot take. John, you got one?
Yeah, my hot take is they need to do a better job naming these countries, because I could not keep them straight. It's you want to talk about killing my immersion? It's like they're talking about Oceania and Eurasia, and I'm like, is that the good guys? Is that the bad guys? I'm pausing the game, like Googling which one's the good guys, which one's the bad guys. I'm like, let's just make the names a little more different.
They're all bad guys.
Yeah.
Which one were we? I don't even know.
I have
They're
that
all
same
the same
note.
name.
I have that same note after like Mission 18. It's like, who am I? Which one am I fighting for again?
Yeah. My hot take is this game has one of the best stories of a game that came out in 2019. Get at me in the comments if you disagree. So let's move on to introduction of the game. This game was developed and published by Bandai Namco. It released on January 18th, 2019, so right at the beginning of the year. And unfortunately, with games that come out right at the beginning of the year, when it comes time to Game of the Year discussions, they're forgotten about. The world's fastest speed run was done in 3 hours and 37 minutes. So, any Giants of Backlog listeners, you want to go try to take that gold medal away from Machine 11, let us know if you do. Moving on to development. So, this was the first Ace Combat game made in Unreal Engine 4. They had a engine that was just for Ace Combat games, but it wasn't really working out for them very well. And when Tekken 7 used Unreal Engine 4, I guess the team working on Ace Combat 7 thought it would work for their game. And this is the first Ace Combat game that has the clouds affect your plane and you're flying. I thought that was a cool little note. So, and also I have a note in here about VR. So they put a lot of development into VR of this game, but they made it exclusive to PlayStation VR.
Oh,
Is
I
this
didn't know
a
that.
game you guys would be interested in playing in VR?
Yeah, I would try it in VR. I don't have a lot of experience with VR. I feel like this is a game that if you get motion sick from VR, you definitely get motion sick. But I mean, it's with people who like flight simulator type games, I'm sure they'd be all about playing this game in VR, having that 360-degree view.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a great fit for VR. I'm someone who gets motion sick in VR. And so you're already, sitting in a cockpit of a plane. So I wonder if I wouldn't get so motion sick because it would be like looking around in an airplane. And I wonder if it's fun to play or if it's easier to control with, well, I guess PlayStation VR, you just use the regular PlayStation controller, right? Or do they have move sticks? I don't know.
Not sure.
They only have the Oculus. What do you think, John?
I think it'd be cool. I'm just trying to think how it would work. If it would really make you feel like you're in an airplane. Yeah, I don't have much experience with VR, so I don't really have too much to add here.
Yeah. Well, I don't think you would feel like you're the airplane. You'd feel like you're the pilot. So the directors of this game are Yuta Hamanaka, Masashi Koyanagi, and producers are Kazutoko Kono and Manabo Shimamoto. Hopefully, I got those names right.
Nailed it.
Let's move on to art. What do you guys think about the art style of this game? They were kind of going for pretty realistic. So, Paul, what are your thoughts on art and graphics?
Yeah, so you mentioned it's made with Unreal Engine 4. Looks really good, I think, really realistic. I spent a decent amount of time just in the hangar, kind of just scrolling over the plane models in there, and really detailed, really cool. It reminded me of Kerbal Space Program, how you can just kind of look at your thing in the shuttle bay before you go launch it. and you can see all the bombs, all the missiles that are loaded on your plane. So they took a lot of care to get the models right. In the credits for this game too, there's like shouts out to Boeing and Lockheed Martin and some of the other military contract companies that make these planes that the models are based on. So they took a lot of time and effort to make these look as realistic as possible, and it's really cool.
Yeah, I played a few, or no, I played Ace Combat Zero as a kid for the PS2, I want to say. And honestly, I didn't realize they still made these. When you picked this game, I didn't realize it was a 2019 game. I thought it was going to be like a 2010 game, which, I mean, not too much time there, but still like a lot of time in video game world, I think. Uh, so playing it, I didn't realize how new and good it was going to look. Uh, and that was one of my main takeaways was compared to the games that are in this series that I played previously. I just thought this looked so good. Uh, yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I'll echo it. It looks beautiful, especially from afar. When you start flying really close to the ground or close to objects, you kind of can see the textures. But these areas are so big. I don't know if at the time for Xbox One and PlayStation 4, if it was possible to make those look better. I am looking forward to the next one. I think it's going to look gorgeous, which hopefully there's a new one coming out soon. What are your guys' thoughts on the music? I can start. Uh, I liked the music at first. In a lot of these missions, the loop time was too short, I thought. It ended up getting annoying with the music restarting over and over again, especially if you're stuck on a mission for a while. It gets pretty old and annoying, I thought.
Yeah, I didn't really notice the music too much in this one. It's got, I guess, a little bit of like high energy feel to it. Um, but in general, didn't really notice it. Didn't really even notice it was looping. How long? Yeah, how long did like the track last before it looped?
I don't know, maybe like 30 seconds. It was too short. But
Oh,
some
so
of the
you hear?
music, like the last mission music, was really good, I thought.
Yeah,
Uh,
I agree
John,
with that.
you don't pay attention to music, so you probably.
no, I honestly am trying to think. I can't even remember it. Uh, I was just immersed in flying my plane, so I don't even know if I heard it.
I had the music cranked because I played most of this game on Steam Deck, and I don't know if this is just with that version, but I had the volume cranked because the dialogue volume was way lower than the music volume. So if I wanted to hear people, and I didn't go in the settings and turn the music down, I just cranked it. So the music was blasting in my ears while I was playing this. But it was high energy and it added to the intensity of the experience. So didn't mind it.
It kind of sounded like the music in a Pacific Rim movie, if that gives you an idea. Um, Next, storytelling style. So I'd like to break this down into there's really like three areas they conveyed the story to you. The first was in the cutscenes, right in between missions. The second was in the pre-mission briefing, which a lot of times had nothing to do with the cutscene you just watched. And then the third part of the story was over the radio just while you're flying around. What do you guys think about the style they conveyed the story to you in this game?
I think it's all right. I don't have a ton of experience with like these dogfighting games. I played only ever one like true dogfighting game. It was Blazing Angels Squadrons of World War II. It came out in 2006. I played it on my 360 sometime around then. And the presentation was the same. The mission, before the mission, there was a cutscene kind of advancing the story and explaining to you what you're going to do on this mission. And then you just have your squad mates talking with you as things happen during the mission. I thought, what did I say in my notes? I thought the dialogue with your squad mates and with command during the missions, it was just a lot of people yelling, "Trigger, pull up!" And I didn't get as much from it. Like, I didn't get a great sense of bonding with my squad. Like, Count, I thought Count was cool, but other than Count, there weren't really any other characters in the squad who I connected with and really had a sense of identity.
I think, I think the fact that our character doesn't talk, right? We're just silent the whole time. I think it takes away from, that bond and stuff like that. If our character was bantering back and forth with Count, maybe there'd be more connection there, or with any of the other pilots. Then we'd have more of a connection with those other pilots in the sky. Especially, I feel like the gameplay, you kind of don't need to be completely on the same page with your other pilots. So because of that, you're not really working in tandem. You're kind of, at least for me, I was kind of doing my own thing. So I can see what you're saying about those relationships not feeling super strong.
Fleshed out.
You think if that's your squadron, that should be, really tight.
It kind of works for this game though, because like in the cutscenes and in like the briefs, like Trigger's the man. Like he kind of reminded me of Doom Guy, like silent protagonist who everybody just reveres by the end of the game. Like there's this quote on one of the last missions where it's like, "If Trigger's ready to kick some ass, sign me up." So it kind of fits, but
if you stay close to Trigger, you'll make it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought the cutscenes were pretty entertaining and good. It was kind of the carrot to get through each mission, was looking forward to the next cutscene, see what's going on in this world, in this crazy story. And then the mission briefs were okay. They were necessary, I guess, to set up what you're about to do. And in some of them, they gave critical information, like that mission where you have to fly around the silo with your nose pointed at the silo so that the bomb can hit its mark. So the briefings were okay, and I got fed up with the banter going back and forth, especially on games or missions where I would have to restart a lot because I was dying a lot. It was the same exact audio clips every single time. I would be like laughing maniacally and repeating word for word at the same time they say it, at the beginning of the mission, because most of the missions start you like a mile away and you have to fly towards where you're going while they're saying the same shit to you over and over again. I wish they would have changed it up when you died or stopped saying it after a while, but whatever. Maybe that was just me who was dying a lot.
Yeah, I didn't die that much, but I played on easy.
Yeah, same. I loved the post-mission overview, like just the triangles flying through the sky and taking stuff out. I really enjoyed watching, it recapped your mission, and if you want to sit there for half an hour and watch your whole mission, you could. But I liked sitting there for a few minutes, just watching the beginning, watching the triangles fly around each other, and me taking out other planes. I thought that the post mission recap was really cool.
Yeah. And you can watch it all recapped, from different camera views too on your plane. They like have the little recording after, which is kind of cool. Okay, let's move on to mechanics. So, what system did everybody play on?
PC, Steam Deck.
I played on Xbox. So, and what difficulty you both said you played on easy?
Yep.
I think I played on normal with expert controls. And to anybody who hasn't played the game yet, I'd really recommend expert controls, because instead of turning, you're playing like this. When you turn, your plane goes like this, and then you have to pull up to turn. It just kind of made it more realistic, I thought, but some of the missions became incredibly impossible, like the final mission we'll talk about, doing it with that controls, going through the tunnels. I died so many times. It was ridiculous. So what are your guys' thoughts on the difficulty options?
Yeah, really quick. If you play without expert controls, you're just driving a car through the air, is what I would equate it to. Difficulty, there were, I think, 4 selectable difficulties. There's expert, like hard mode, normal, easy, and then there was very easy. So easy, the missions, you can pretty much just ignore other planes. Nobody is going to do enough damage to you. It's really easy to shake missiles as they're coming in. So you can really just focus on your targets, your objectives, and you don't have to worry too much about maneuvering to avoid damage. It's really forgiving. You can take a lot of damage too. So even if you're not dodging missiles, you can probably get hit by 4 or 5 missiles before it'll blow your plane up.
Yeah, on my difficulty, it was with the earlier planes, it was 2 missiles and you're dead. And with some of the later planes, they could take 3 missiles, and then you had like the healing mods and stuff like that.
Yeah, I thought easy was a good difficulty just for having a fun experience. I didn't get frustrated at all during the game. Didn't die very much. When I did, it was because I got too low and crashed into something. But even if you crashed at like a shallow angle, it would bounce you back into the sky.
You can mod your plane so you take less collision damage as well.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't think it was like the most realistic setting, but it was fun. It was a setting that made the game not too difficult, made it so you could progress without too much effort, and it was just a fun experience overall. One thing I do want to touch on difficulty is you have to choose it at the beginning of the game, and you can't change it. They let you know that in that menu. So is that the same with the expert controls? Or if you have expert controls on, can you not change that throughout the game?
I'm not sure. I think you can change the control style.
Okay.
But
gotcha.
Don't quote me.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. I guess I assumed that you couldn't, so I didn't want to try that and then get stuck and spend, 20 extra hours on this game than I wanted to. I think the way I played it, like driving a car through the sky on easy mode, was it was fun for me and I enjoyed it. So
yeah, it was like an arcade
just stuck with that.
plane game.
Yeah. So briefly, let's touch on how long it took everybody to complete. My end game time was 19 hours. 19 and a half, I think.
I was at like 10 or 11 hours. It took me like half an hour per mission.
Yeah, I didn't check mine, so I would assume about the same as Paul.
Yeah, I think how long to beat says, I don't know, like 15 or 16, so.
Probably if you're playing on higher difficulty than easy, when you're dying and you have to start over because the checkpoint system isn't especially generous in this game. The couple times I did die, I basically had to start the mission over.
Yeah. Or you get all the way to the end of a mission and you don't have enough points and you have to start over from the beginning.
You're out of missiles and you have to shoot everything down with your machine gun.
Yeah. So, what did you guys think about the aircraft tree and unlocking stuff with credits as you go? And were there any mods or weapons you guys liked a lot and thought made things really easier? Or...
I liked the progression tree. At first, I was intimidated by it when I saw how big it was, and I accidentally spent credits on multiplayer only upgrades a couple times. But the game's really generous with credits, even on easy. Like by the end of my playthrough, I probably was close to unlocking everything for the campaign. The mods I tended to put on were increasing my missile power and my special weapon power, and then if I had room left on my plane, just things to make me faster, more maneuverable.
I didn't use the upgrade tree. I think I upgraded one thing.
Really?
And then
What?
I played the whole game
You
with
played the
that
whole
plane.
game
with
on
no
the basic...
parts?
You automatically unlocked some parts. I think I had like 5 parts of that.
Wow.
It was alright. I don't know, man. It's like so complicated. I just wanted to fly.
Yeah, it was intimidating. I will say, like I was really intimidated by how big the tree was and what everything did at first, but it really wasn't that bad, John, once you started looking at it. I've played RPGs with way more complicated skill trees.
Well, once you picked like a path, like you could just keep upgrading that path all the way to the end. That's what I did. And
yeah, I always get like I don't know if intimidated is the word, but I get stingy with my money, my in-game money in games. And so like I didn't know if I'd have enough to unlock everything. So thinking about multiplayer, because the only time we've played this game prior to playing this campaign right now was playing multiplayer. And I was thinking, oh, I want to have the best plane for multiplayer when we do hop back into this game for that. So I'm going to save all my credits, and at the end, I'll figure out what the very best plane is, and I'll buy it using all these credits I have. But it sounds like maybe you could just buy everything anyway, so maybe that wasn't the move.
You couldn't buy everything, but for the last couple missions, I had a plane unlocked at the very end of the skill tree, and it had like really good maneuverability and could take more hits and was more powerful. And it really helped me out having a better plane. You know, every couple missions, it made it easier for me, because that beginning plane, especially with expert controls, I was crashing a lot just because I couldn't turn so quick. But with the end plane, I could like get really close to the ground, like go like thread the needle in between cliffs. Like it was, I think having a better plane made the game more fun, at least for me.
Yeah, and if I was playing on a higher difficulty, I assume it would be necessary to figure out how to optimize your plane for each mission and make sure you bring in the right weapons and all that. I was just flying around.
Yeah, so there was this one missile I bought. It was air-to-ground missile, and it was like a giant bomb. So there was like that one mission where there's a whole ton of stuff on the ground all closely together. I'd shoot one missile, it'd kill like 10 things. And so like I was way over the score. Got a ton of credits from that because I got like an A rank on the mission. And yeah, that bomb ended up being like my go-to for all the stuff I had to fight on the ground. And then later on the aircraft at the very end of the tree, I think I had like it was called like 8. I don't know. You could shoot out 8 missiles and they would all seek to ground targets. So you
Yeah.
just fly over something, everything dies. It was made you feel really powerful. So yeah, I liked the aircraft tree. I thought it was cool, and I could see how that could become addicting because you get bonus credits for beating a mission on your first try. You get bonus credits for, the score you get. You get bonus credits for your time. So it it might be fun, and you get a bunch of credits for multiplayer too. So just playing missions, you could probably rack up a lot more. And there's a battle royale in this game. Did you guys know that?
No.
That's
Is
awesome.
that
Though.
new?
Just everybody goes in. No, it's not new. It came out at launch.
Wow.
2019 was the year of battle royales, I think. But that seems really fun. You get dropped in with like 50 planes. Everybody's on their own. Just try to be the last one alive.
That sounds awesome. One comment on multiplayer. We were playing multiplayer without high G turns. No wonder we had no shot.
Yeah. 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 We were playing multiplayer with the worst plane in the game doing basic controls. Like, yeah, we were getting destroyed for a reason. So let's move on to the story missions quickly. Did you guys have a favorite, and which mission was it?
I really like the one where I think it's 14 or 15, when you're fighting over Frabrante, the capital of Eurasia. Just fighting with flying in between the skyscrapers, and I'm pretty sure it's just a score rack mission. You just gotta blow shit up. It was a lot of fun. And I think at the end of it, Mr. X shows up. That's probably my favorite.
I liked mission 14, the one that you start by going through the mountain pass to get to the base, and then there's like different naval targets to hit and all that. I love me a good fly through the mountain pass, dodge the spotlights mission.
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to mention that mission too. That one was really cool. Nighttime, flying through the crevice. It gets really tight at some points. It took me a couple tries because of expert controls, but like barely like making it around a turn and just ducking under a spotlight. That was really fun. And I also really liked the final mission 20, even though it took me multiple hours to beat. It was just so awesome going through the tunnels, flying up the space elevator. Like,
I kept calling it Space Needle.
what?
I kept like referring to it in my notes as the Space Needle.
Oh. Yeah. It was a good final mission, culmination of taking down the threat, which has now changed, to be the drones. What was everybody's least favorite mission? For me, it was that mission. It's pretty early in the game. It's where you have to blow up a bunch of shit on the ground. And for the longest time, I didn't realize there was a certain score, like in the top left corner, you had to hit. So I would like feel like I destroyed a ton of shit, and it'd say, "Oh, you didn't destroy enough." I'm like, what do you mean? And I'd have to restart from the beginning. I spent maybe half of my playtime on this mission, and the time I beat it, I had no missiles left. I was trying to just a couple hundred shy, had to blow stuff up with my machine gun, and the missiles do reload on their own 2 at a time, every couple minutes. So it cut it really close. I finally beat it, and from there on out, it was smooth sailing until the final mission for me.
My least favorite mission was, it was an earlier one too. You were at the prison, probably maybe it was the first one at the prison. They didn't turn your weapons on, so you just had to fly around and be decoys for like 5 minutes, and then maybe, I don't know, maybe longer. But then they turn your missions on, and you have to eliminate all the threats, and you only have so much time to do it, and you don't have a lot of missiles either, so it was kind of hard. I failed that one a couple times just because I ran out of time. But it just wasn't fun spending 5-10 minutes flying around, not being able to engage in combat.
I'd say for me, it was either the one you referenced already, the target the silos one, where you have to fly slow at different silos. But that mission wasn't very long. I just didn't care for that mechanic. Or taking out the arsenal birds. I liked the premise of taking out the arsenal birds, but it's just a lot of time of just flying behind them and shooting and taking out 15 targets on them, and stuff is, there's drones behind you, and I don't know. It seemed hectic, but it wasn't like, I don't know, maybe it's because it was uneasy. It wasn't as crazy as it should have felt, and it was just a lot of doing a circle, getting back behind the arsenal bird, and repeat.
Yeah, it was pretty hectic on the higher difficulty. The drones would be beating me up, so I'd have to shoot the arsenal bird while doing evasive maneuvers. It was pretty tough. I'm surprised that none of us picked escort mission as one of our least favorites. You guys like the escort missions?
Yes, I liked how they did it, because when there was a threat to the whoever you're escorting, it would flash and it would switch your target to that one automatically. So it was pretty easy to switch off of whatever target I was pursuing and clear the threat on the escort. The one mission, really quick before John, that I also didn't like was that mission in the desert where you're flying through the sandstorm and you have to just find the trucks. They don't show up on your radar.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that one. Yeah, that was the worst one.
I almost failed that one because I was running out of time, and I just spent so
Same.
long just flying, and there's like no planes in the air by me because I'd shot them all down just looking for these last couple fucking trucks.
I had one to go, and it's like I'm in my last minute, and then through the radio, they're like, "It looks like there's a truck about to escape to the north." I'm like, "Thank you, thank you so much." So I went and just checked the entire north edge and found it finally. But yeah, just flying around in circles through the dust, not finding anything, was annoying.
Yeah, I had to redo that one a number of times, but thankfully it was merciful with its checkpoint. So you didn't have to destroy the whole city again. It just started you out, looking for the trucks.
Yeah.
But similarly, I'd be down to one or two and not able to find them, and I'd run out of time, and it's like, okay, whatever. I'll redo this whole 10-minute section again. So, yeah. So do you guys think, well, another one that, was I kind of liked it and I didn't like it at the same time, was when you don't know who's friend or foe. You have to get up close to them before it tells it, and I died a lot on that mission.
Well, that was like the last 4 missions or something, right? Because they knocked out your radio. Did it come back at then?
Yeah, I think it might have been mission 15 or 16. It's near the end.
Yeah, it's after the battle for the capital.
But I'd be flying at these things. They'd be shooting missiles at me, and I'd be like, okay, cool. So, I'm just taking free damage. And then I would die, restart. I'd already know which ones are friend and foe, and I'd blow them up before IDing them. And they'd be like, don't blow them up before you ID them. I'm like, I don't give a shit. I already know. So, yeah. There were a solid 4 or 5 escort missions in the game. But yeah. So my last one is, any missions you guys get stuck on, or is it just me?
No, I think just because we were playing on easy.
Yeah. So I do briefly want to talk about the last mission. Going into that fucking tunnel was so hard because I'm flying and like it doesn't fly straight, so like I have to like correct. I get too close to this side, I have to turn and then pull and then like go back and then like so I'm like going through this tunnel like really like clenching to try to not hit the walls. The gates would be closing, you have to get close to the ground. So I go through close to the ground and then I'd have to turn and I wouldn't correct my elevation back up. So when I turned, my wing would hit the ground and I'd die. And that happened so much. And then space elevators, same thing. Like I was like, then there's the little bump outs everywhere that you have to dodge. It was tough, I'll tell you. I started mission 20 at like 11 or 10:30 and I was like out there maniacally like laughing because I just kept on blowing up like screaming. It was Cuphead levels. And Emily came out at 3 a.m. She was up late playing Hunt. And I was still like laughing at the TV. She's like, I thought you would be asleep, but you're out here maniacally laughing. And I go, why? What time is it? And it's 3 a.m. And like didn't feel like 4 hours passed, but
yeah,
guess that's what happens when you just keep on retrying something until you finally get it. It feels that much better when you do.
I can see, I know what you're talking about. I can see on expert control scheme, like it would be tough to navigate through the tunnel and then the space elevator. But when you're just driving a truck through the air, not as bad.
Yeah, some of that stuff was tight. I crashed a couple times going too fast. I slowed it down and got through there, but yeah, on expert controls that seems really hard.
Well,
and even getting into the space elevator was really tight.
That's what I was gonna say. The first hurdle is even getting into the tunnel. I'd hit one of those retaining walls. Fuck. Okay, restart. Listen to count. Say shit about me again. Go under, and then there was a checkpoint right before the room with the bottom of the space elevator. So finally, once I got there, I didn't have to redo the whole tunnels again and again. And then inside that room was like science, and then getting up into the elevator, I died a lot before I even got in there a lot of times. So
yeah, that was, I would say, the hardest turn of the mission was getting into the elevator.
Yeah,
like it wasn't very clear exactly where you need to go. And
and then there was one time I made it out the top and I hit one of those cables and I exploded and I had to do like another 50 tries before I beat it. It was so sad.
On a different mission, I hit a cable or something, and I was kind of expecting just to pass through it. Like I didn't think there'd be set up for a collision, so I was kind of surprised that they did.
Yeah. All right. Let's just talk about story overall. Did you guys like it? Did you not?
So
yes.
For me, I really liked the story. I enjoyed, like what we said, the cutscenes, the character development. Your guy going from an elite pilot to a prisoner to an elite pilot again. I got so lost at the end, and maybe we should talk about the rest of the story before we talk about the end. So maybe I'll hold off. But man, what the hell happened at the end? Like the enemies weren't the enemies anymore; they're the allies, and the drones are the bad guys, and the Vulcan guy isn't evil anymore. Like, what the fuck happened?
Shout out to that guy's real name, by the way. That was hilarious in that cutscene. But I thought this game, the first 4 missions, was so boring. And I was like, man, it's just going to be this generic military game. But then the mission where you're escorting Harling from the space elevator, from that point on, I was hooked.
Yeah. So, I guess we'll give a brief synopsis of the story, though we're assuming everybody listening played the game. Essentially, like, you're a pilot, you become an ace pilot, you're going to escort like the president or somebody, and then you're the one who shoots him down in a cutscene. Well, it's left
Are you the one
unclear.
who shoots him down?
It's left
I
unclear whether it was
yeah,
you, but it's blamed on you.
I swear
I loved
I
how they did
released the
that.
missile right before that cutscene started, and I'm like, did I do it?
Yeah,
I don't know.
yes, it's so good how they do it because same thing. I was like, shit, I didn't know there was friendly fire in this game. I thought I failed and it was going to
there's
restart
an
me.
enemy right in front of his helicopter, and you shoot your missile, and it goes to cutscenes, and it shows you blowing up the president. So then you go to this prison, which before they were talking about this prison, you didn't really know why. And now Trigger goes to this prison. He becomes part of this group of prisoners they're using to fight the war with old plans. And then you become a badass in that group, and they promote your whole group to an actual squadron in the military, and then you're back on like doing military missions for the actual military instead of part of this prison group. And a lot of shit goes down, like the princess's plane crashes. There's the girl who's the mechanic who like talks to her. I don't know. There's this guy who is the greatest pilot of all time. They're monitoring him and his flights to make these drones and then the drones become perfect, and they try to upload their mainframe into the space elevator to infect all the drones in the world, and then you'd have never-ending war, and you stop it. How'd I do on a story synopsis?
That was pretty good.
Yeah. At some point, they take out your comms. You don't know who's friend or foe. And yeah, the granddaughters of the best pilot ever lived, named Mr. X, they end up destroying the hard drive that has the data on it. And all this testing they were doing with Mr. X was killing him, and he was sad that he'd never be able to fly again. That was true death. So, I thought the story was sweet. Like, it did a lot of stuff I wasn't expecting. And when a story can do that, I really appreciate it, because too many stories are just, you can kind of guess what's going to happen next. So this one always kept me guessing. Like Paul said, I bounced off this game a couple times. That's why it was on my backlog, because the first handful of missions were so boring. But once you get into it, you get really invested, I think, and that speaks to the quality of the story. And I've read online a lot. They relate this story to being an anime story, and I can kind of see it. But it's just kind of a new and interesting setting for this kind of storytelling, and I think they killed it. They knocked it out of the.
Yeah, what you said earlier about how completing a mission to get to the carrot of the next cutscene became so true after you shoot Harling's helicopter down, because it just gets wild and it's so nice. And toward the end, when the combat was starting to get repetitive, I just looking forward to that next cutscene, because I needed to know how this shit ended.
There were some really like cinematic missions too, like flying through those mountains in the thunderstorm, and like really cool. Like, this is, an action movie, but a game. So dog fighting Mr. X, or those drones that are just doing crazy shit, like straight up in the sky, dropping down, and I had a lot of fun in this game.
Yeah, one thing I really appreciated was that they built up like the other side almost as much as they built up our side. We're looking at the story from two perspectives. We're looking at it from Mr. X and the Belkin guy's perspective, and we're looking at it from our perspective, and then there's the princess in there as well, who's kind of in the middle. Like, I thought it was cool that you know that you're going to take out Mr. X eventually, but you get his whole backstory, and you're like, he's not that bad of a guy, and all that stuff. So
he just wants to fly. He doesn't care about the ground because his kingdom is the sky.
He doesn't care about the war. Yeah, yeah. Never mind. You got it right there.
Cool. And your thoughts on the ending? You think they wrapped it up well? I know John already said he was confused, but
I'm so confused.
Yeah, so my understanding is that I forget the name of the corporation, but they kind of orchestrated the war in order to get more data for their drones when they were like the true big bad, pitting Eurasia and Osea against each other.
yeah. And the people from the country that got taken over and all displaced, they decided that since they can't have a homeland anymore, they just want it to be constant war forever. Similar story to kind of like For Honor, if you think about it. Check out our For Honor episode.
Yeah. Definitely something out of an anime.
What's that, John?
I guess what confused me is like the Eurasian princess, who's like, I don't know, for all intents and purposes of this story, she's like the leader of Eurasia. No one else is really brought up. She doesn't really want war. Osea doesn't seem like they really want war. Nobody really wants war. This one company wants war. But if the governments don't want war, why is there war? It just got me confused. And then at the very end, like 5 minutes ago, I'm shooting down Eurasian planes, and now they're my wingmates. They're flying with me. Like, what happens? Like, I don't understand how
they confront Dr. Schroeder and he reveals all of the stuff.
Why'd he do that? I don't get it. Like, why'd he flip like so fast? It's just strange to me. If his purpose, if his drive is to create chaos in the world, why is he like admitting everything and going, yeah, we need to stop these drones as soon as he's confronted? It's just, to me, it just didn't make that much sense.
I think it's because he saw what it was doing to Mikov, or Mr. X. It kind of brought around his humanity, and his granddaughters shot his hard drive, which was his life's work anyway, so he kind of lost.
I guess, but he still had 3 drones out there. Why not gun down the people confronting you and let those drones upload the hard drive or the information on them, and
hard drive was already destroyed.
Yet. Not hard drive, but they had the data in the planes and the drones.
Yeah, that's true. I just the war was started because they took over the space elevator, right? And so kind of the central focus of the game was fighting over that space elevator. Mm-hmm. Which I didn't mention it, but in the Wikipedia, when they're talking about development of this game, they use the method, I forget what it's called, it's some Japanese name, but where they have like 3 pillars of the game, and then they build the story around those 3 pillars. And I think the 3 subjects they picked were space elevator, like 3D cloud, and one other thing. Talk amongst yourselves and I will find it. Yeah, so, and the third one was princess.
Oh.
Princess.
So you can kind of see how they went from there to the story that we got, and I think they did a pretty good job, even though it might be a little bit confusing on motives at the end.
Yeah, I mean, I liked the story.
I wish they had picked different names for the factions. Eurasia and Oceania are too similar.
Yeah.
I said that at the very beginning.
Yeah.
I've had the
still
same
not
sentiment.
clear. I think we were Oshia, right, the whole time, and then.
And what's Yuja? Yuja exists too.
I know they kept saying the name wrong too. The Yusian. You mean Eurasian?
No, Yuja is also a place.
Oh yeah. It probably sounds better in Japanese.
Yeah, maybe we should have played in Japanese. Anyway, let's get on to the reception of this game. So when it came out, it got basically 8s, a couple 7s, a couple 9s. It came out on PC, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One. Awards, I was surprised it didn't win more. It won award for sound at the CEDEC Awards, and it was nominated for Best VR AR Game at the 2019 Golden Joystick Awards. And that's it. I'm surprised it didn't get more recognition, because it seems like a pretty damn good game, in my opinion.
I think the genre is just so niche, but it's not one of the popular niches like roguelites. So it just didn't get the love that it deserved critically.
So, in closing, I'd like you guys to answer a couple questions for me. Based off playing Ace Combat now, do you guys like the genre more or less than before you played it?
Much more. I think dogfight games, I think there's definitely a place for them. I think, this game was a lot of fun.
I feel pretty mixed because what I really liked about this game was the narrative, because the gameplay kind of got old. Like I was ready to be done flying planes by the end of mission 20. I've played a lot of games where they have a dogfight mission, or it's like a part of the game, it's not the entire game, and I really like that. I like when games like Battlefield and Star Wars incorporate dogfighting as a part of the game. I don't know if I want to play many games where the entire experience is dogfighting. Like they came out with Star Wars Squadrons. I don't know if that has a campaign. It might just be multiplayer, but if it's just multiplayer, I wouldn't really be interested in playing it. I think what I liked so much about Ace Combat 7 is the narrative and the gameplay was good, but I'm just not somebody who wants to experience a ton of that.
I wonder if you changed your control system, if it would have been more interested and kept you hooked longer.
To expert, probably. It probably would have.
All right, and next question. You guys kind of already answered it, but would you guys be interested in playing more dogfighting games now? Because I like the genre a lot, and I think it'd be fun to jump into another with you guys, or John, we want to wingman it up and jump into multiplayer. I'm down. I know that it's a pretty barren genre right now. Actually, Paul mentioned Star Wars Squadrons. I think that's the last one that came out, other than some of these other ones like Century, where you're flying dragons. There's
one I heard of, but I don't know the name of it. I'll see if I can find it while you guys talk.
John?
Yeah, I mean, from my side, I'm pretty excited to get back into multiplayer now that I know more about the controls and know more, or now have the credits to get better planes. Like the multiplayer we played a few hours of it. It was somewhat fun, but it was just us getting our asses kicked over and over again. Now that we have access to these good planes, we know how to use our turns better and all that after playing the campaign. I think it would be a lot of fun, and I'm excited for the next one of these to come out.
Yeah, right on. That was my hope in picking this game.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna play 8 when it comes out, right, and I'll play multiplayer too. I love Any game where you can queue up for matches and it's short.
Yeah, I don't know how short the battle royales are, but be it'd be fun just to try to be the last
Fly
one
around,
standing, last one flying,
fly to the edge of the map, stay alive.
hide in the clouds. All right. Or Paul, if you find that game, let us know. But otherwise,
It's called War Thunder. It's free to play. It's via other vehicles besides planes as well. I think it's really popular actually.
yeah, I think there is like in that vein, World of Tanks, World of Battleships. I think there is a World of Planes that I think is popular with older generation and maybe some younger too. I don't know.
Yeah, I want more games like this where there's a narrative. It's built in UE4, UE5, hopefully for 8.
Yeah. All right. Let's score now. I'll start. I like this game. This game was good. Got annoyed with repetitive voice lines and the music. I think they could have done better. Overall, good game. 8.5 for me.
Okay. I was glued to this game. I absolutely got fully immersed, put my headphones on, turned my volume all the way up, and was just stuck to my screen while I was playing this. My first sitting, I played 10 missions.
Wow.
I got hooked. I really had a lot of fun. Enjoyed this game a lot for all of the points we've already talked about. So I'll give this a 9 out of 10.
Nice.
Yeah, I'd echo a lot of what you guys said. I had a lot of fun. The gameplay is really engaging. You can, even with the default control scheme, you can still do some pretty cool stuff with the high G turns. You can maneuver and drop behind guys who are on your 6 and then shoot a missile and blow them up. Like, it's got a cool factor that a lot of other combat focused games don't have. The story really good, like 10 out of 10 anime story. I think overall the gameplay is clean. I think my biggest criticism is just the characters. I just didn't connect with them as much as World War II Squadrons. Those people, like, that game is so zany and cheesy, and like, you guys know for Resident Evil 4, that's the kind of stuff that really gets me. Gameplay got a little competitive by the end, just the dog fighting against AI. I would like to get into the multiplayer scene and play against actual human opponents. I think that's got infinite more
Fun.
interesting, more intrigue for me. But overall, I'd give this game a 7.5 out of 10.
Ooh, harsh. Yeah, I do want to comment on that. Typically, John is the very last one to beat a game before we record. Like, always the last. And for this game, you beat it first, John.
I beat it first by quite a bit. I beat it in like 3 sittings in 3 days.
Which is
Yeah, I liked this game.
sign of a good game. All right, up next we got John's pick. John, what are you picking?
All right, for my pick, I am going to pick a game that I am currently hooked to because I want to continue playing it. And that game is Temtem, the Pokemon knockoff.
MMO.
I've been playing a lot of it lately. Really enjoying what I can do in it, all the options, and it's a pretty good online Pokemon game. It's like exactly what I've always wanted, an MMO style Pokemon game. So I'm excited to make you guys play it.
Yeah, I've been playing this too, and what typically makes me quit most Pokemon knockoffs is I don't like the monsters as much as Pokemon, right? They just fumble on making the monsters cool. But there's a lot of Temtem that I really like, and so I've been playing a lot too and been stuck to it because of the world they made and the monsters they made. So I'm looking forward to playing it some more and talking with you guys about it.
Yeah, it's been a while since I played a mainline Pokemon game. The formula kind of got stale for me, but I'm excited to see another developer's take on Pokemon. So I'm looking forward to it, John.
Right on. So that does it for episode 24, Ace Combat 7. Thanks for listening. If you listened this far, if you could share it with a friend, we'd appreciate it. If you have questions, comments, email us at giantsbacklog.com@gmail.com. And we'll do a community email response episode at some point when we get enough emails. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Like it if you don't mind. Subscribe if you want to catch all of our episodes, and we'll catch you next time.